and welcome back to my channel. Now, every year I compile a list of books that I absolutely refuse to read, and I refuse to read them for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's just that I'm not interested in them, and sometimes it's because they're problematic as fuck and I don't want that on my shelves. So I have got a list of 7 books that tick one of those boxes and I actively did not read in 2022. Now, I do have my whole best books, worst books video planned, but as you can see, I am still in my parents' house, so I am not actually able to record those because I'd like to be able to show you those books, and I thought I could do this video instead because I don't own these books. I've actively not paid towards them, so I can just put a cheeky little graphic here and call it a day. So that's what I'm gonna do. I really want to make it clear that I chose not to. Like, I looked it up, I did the research, and I went, not for me, for a variety of reasons. So the first book on my list of books I chose not to read was Silk Fire by Zaib Elor. Now, there's a whole other thing going on here. So Zaib Elor is one of many authors on this list where people think they're being homophobic towards them because they don't like their book and are blatantly ignoring the fact that being LGBT does not give you a free pass to be a massive racist. Also claimed that people didn't understand feminism that was in his book because his book had a matriarchy in it, and then proceeded to have all of his main characters be misogynistic. This is based on reviews, etc. that I've seen. And then my favourite bit, because even if you weren't being a massive racist and misogynist, he then proceeded to bully people in his comments and told them they weren't smart enough to understand the book. And it's not that he was a racist or misogynist, they just didn't get it. They didn't understand. They didn't get what he was trying to go for. And like, as an author, I've had a sneaky cheeky look at reviews of my books, and there's been occasions where like I've responded when people have said certain things about like my book, and they've like had criticisms and stuff, and those comments are usually like, I totally get it, like I completely understand where you're coming from, I'm sorry it didn't work for you, but thanks for your review, kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, everyone's opinion's different. People that read a lot are not stupid. Like, just because they're not reading highbrow literature or don't get your book does not make them stupid. It does make you stupid if you openly tell people they're stupid for not understanding your book, because clearly you didn't write a good book for them to understand it. Do you see where the work has to be? It's the author's responsibility, it's not the reader's. So I just couldn't fathom that. But it did mean when I found out of all this Silk Fire drama, I then also took May the Best Man Win off of my wish list. It's by the same author. Silk Fire is under the Zaib Elor, which is his adult fiction name, and then he's got Z.R. Elor as his YA name. So just bear in mind that. Let's continue on this theme of LGBT authors thinking it's okay to talk about racism from a white standpoint, even though we've got We All Fall Down and The Ones We Burn. Now, these are two very, very similar in premise books. Both of them have stoic patriarchy. Both of them have a fight between the underdog and the great totalitarian government. And the other thing they have in common is blatant racism. So in The Ones We Burn, Rebecca Mix has tried to do what Mallory Blackman did, which is swap round who is racist. So in this instance, it's a black authority, okay? So that the government and the like oppressor, that's what I'm looking for. A black oppressing society, and the whites are oppressed. Now, the difference between, in my mind, and maybe tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong, if I'm being a hypocrite about this. The oppressed are always going to understand more about their oppressors, right? That's an inherent way of surviving. Mallory Blackman turning around who is the oppressed and who is the oppressors is for the audience's sake. It's for their empathy. It's to help them understand that being a white racist is not a good look, and that maybe we should be fucking better. Like, the fact that there is still people being arrested for being the wrong colour, being stopped for being the wrong colour, being shot for being the wrong colour in the world that we live in 2022/2023. It's to bridge that gap, right? It's to put ourselves in those shoes, implying that given half a chance, people of colour would oppress white people is ick. Like, it's a big ick. So that was a no from me. And then The Wheel Fall Down. Now, this was an Illumicrate book that I actually received a copy of and then immediately unhauled because I actually emailed them saying that I didn't want this book and they sent it to me anyway. I can't help but feel that was a dick. There was a load of drama basically from the moment the ARC reviews hit NetGalley, where one of the main characters, who is non-binary, I believe, throws a black man under a bus and has him arrested for a crime she knows her sister committed. They know their sister committed. So there's a whole chapter, apparently, again, didn't read it, didn't want to. There's a whole chapter apparently where this black man is then tortured by police for a crime he did not commit, trying to get him to confess to this crime that he did not commit. And the fact that this person willfully threw, I think the thing is, if he had been a white man, I don't think the audience would have had such a volatile reaction to it. But once again, it's a white person speaking on behalf of people of colour about something that, as the oppressor, I don't know, it gave me, like, there were so many things about that it just felt wrong. It just felt morally wrong to me. And again, feel free to say in the comments whether you think that's right or wrong. Like, do I think white LGBT authors could possibly understand the oppression of black people? Yeah, of course. Homophobia exists. Do I think that those books are worth championing over own voices? No, I don't. So it is a massive grey area. It is going to be a case of nuance with every book, but that is absolutely how I felt about those two in particular. I just thought, why are we doing this? Why are we using LGBT as a blanket shield for racism, to allow racism in those books and to look at oppression from a standpoint of the oppressor, not the oppressed? I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. And, like, it's really upsetting because I love championing LGBT books, disability rep, and BIPOC books on my channel and on my website. So I love doing that. So I don't understand why there's this trend at the moment of LGBT authors being fucking problematic. And it did kind of start with the whole drama a year or so ago with Rory Power and Emily Emily Duncan, and a bunch of others who were caught being racist and, like, homophobic towards other people in a writers group. And I'm like, why are these writers still being published? Why is that still happening? It gives me the ick, makes me really sad, so it's a big no from me. Refuse to read any of those books. Equally, refuse to read Rory Power's new book. I don't know if that one is homophobic or anything like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the book itself. But after the whole drama and after the whole controversy and scandal of finding out that Rory Powers not only was racist and rude to someone, got away with it, everyone seems to have forgotten, I'm not interested in reading their new book. I'm just not. Pretty as it is, not interested. Right, next on the list is Where the Crawdads Sing. This is nothing to do with the book. It's nothing to do with the book. And everything to do with the fact that the author may or may not have got away with murder. No one knows. No one knows. She was arrested, as was her husband, for shooting a poacher. The poacher was never named, and they were never convicted, but they were the only ones that could have been there at the time. I don't think I want to read it. I don't think I want to read it. I don't read true crime novels. I don't read novels about serial killers or murderers or anything like that. I read cozy murder mysteries and thrillers that are fictional. I am not here for real murder, so that was a no from me. Light Lark. Now. There was loads of stuff about how this book was only being sold because it was a TikTok sensation and that it wasn't very good. That is not why I didn't read this book. There was a little bit of a rumor that this author had pretended to be a woman of colour. I don't know if that's true, but that's also not why I didn't read this book. Loads of people were bullying this author on TikTok and on Goodreads, which was not fucking cool. Still not why I didn't read this book. I didn't read this book because part of the publishing process is marketing your book. And marketing and publishing at the moment are really bedding down on the whole, you should have a TikTok if you want to be a famous author. You need to be promoting yourself on social media, which a lot of authors are just not comfortable with, because they're insular people that stay in their homes all the day. Like, they don't want to go on social media, and if they do, they want to lurk. They don't want to be promoting and posting. It's a thing they don't want to be doing. Not everybody, but like generally. So this shift on, is your book marketable on TikTok, is worrisome, especially when the quotes that you're using to promote your book aren't in the real book. Like, they don't end up making it to the final thing. Now, I appreciate there was like an editing process, there's going to be changes, but generally all of the things that she'd said were going to be in her book then weren't. And the other thing is, a lot of her posts initially were promoting what a struggling author she was and how she needed the support, and thank you for the support of everyone on TikTok, when she may or may not, alleged, have had financial backing from her very rich siblings. So there was so much going around about this novel in particular that I don't actually know what the story is. I just heard so much other gumph about it that I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And you can't tell me you're a struggling author, because aren't we all? And then be like, but my sister's hella rich and definitely almost maybe paid for the initial marketing campaign in the first place. So didn't like that. That felt sketch, and it's just not a book that I'm interested in reading. So just all of that made it a no from me. I don't think it will be an issue, because I'm pretty sure Like Luck became a Times bestseller like a week after it came out. Like, everyone seemed to really enjoy it. It's just not for me, and I'm not interested in trying to wade through the moral ambiguity of lying about who you are as an author. I don't know. It feels weird. Next is Death and Croissants. I actually ordered this in for myself. I was really excited to read this one. I put it on my website, really hyped for it. And then my friend Hannah was like, oh, I've got it. I'm going to read it for this month. And I was like, cool, let me know what you think, because she'll read it faster than I do. So you read it and then let me know what you think. And the amount of times she texts me saying, this is so unnecessarily racist. There was misogyny in it. It was just unnecessary. And I get that it's trying to do a thing where they're older people and they're reacting to people in a certain way. I don't want to endorse books with racism unless it is by an own voices author exploring anti-racism. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want the moral of the story to be like, well, this guy said a slur, but this guy murdered someone, so we're going to think he's the bad guy instead. Like, I'm leaving that back in 2020. Like, absolutely not. If you want to know what the racist things were that he said, apparently I've actually just looked up some of the comments that Hannah sent me. So one of them is that he compared the cruise that he was on to being on a slave galley. And another one was that he wore a mask. He wore a mask in an attempt to do blackface. And then the last book that I actively did not read in 2022. There are a few coming out that I thought about adding, but I've chosen not to, because I'll save those for the end of this year. Is The Night in Its Moon. The cover, immediately I was like, I don't think this is for me. And then the more I heard about the way the author was reacting by bullying people on TikTok and Goodreads, and then apologising and then taking back the apology. No, that's not. If you're going to apologise for doing shitty behaviour, commit to the apology. It's not difficult. Just say, I'm sorry, I fucked up. Say what you fucked up for. In fact, if you haven't seen Neeks' video on how to apologise properly, where have you been? Anyway, those are the books that I chose not to read in 2022. What are the books that you chose not to read in 2022, and why? Did you have a good reason, or were you just like, that's not for me? Because there were a couple of books that it was like, that's not for me. Didn't read the new Taylor Jenkins Reid, Malibu Rising. I haven't read anything by her. It's nothing against her, I'm just not interested in those books. So like, there's other ones like that. Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Treat yourself to something from Waypoint, because it supports me and my content. And other than that, have a nice day.